living in the Stalk, and in this episode we're going to feature a few women in agriculture stories. So I guess the first part would be to introduce yourself and kind of your job and background in FFA. Let's start with Amanda.
All right, my name is Amanda Eben. I'm married to Curtis Eben. We live on an acreage outside of Rock Rapids. I'm originally from Rock Rapids. I spent 4 years of my high school career at the Central Line FFA, which I'm native to this area. I was the chapter treasurer for both my junior and senior year, and I would say that that's where the foundation started for me to really figure out what I wanted to do in life for my career path, which has been in the swine industry for the last about 10 years. I'm currently at Cooperative Farmers Elevator, which is locally known as CFE. It's a conglomeration of elevators in Northwest Iowa where we do just that, feed livestock. I work on the swine sales feed team specifically, and so my job essentially is to maintain and develop relationships with farmers to either have them keep feeding their pigs with CFE or hopefully, get new customers to start feeding their livestock with CFE.
Perfect. I guess we'll go whoever wants to go next on Zoom.
I can go. My name is Mia Gibson. I am currently serving as the Iowa FFA state president. So I grew up on a beef farm in Northeast Iowa by West Union. And here is really where my passion for agriculture and FFA started. So I started FFA in 7th grade as a middle school at North Fayette Valley. And ever since then, I have definitely gotten more and more involved in FFA and has grown my leadership skills. So I actually served on a state officer team with Haley last year, and then now I'm also on the state officer team and will be finishing off my year in about a week and a half. So that's very exciting. I've had a lot of experiences, been able to connect and meet with members from across the state.
That's cool that you guys started in middle school. That's a really cool opportunity that a lot of schools don't have.
Yeah.
For sure.
I can go. My name is Haley Williams, and I served as the Northwest State Vice President last year on Mia's team, as she said, in 2020-2021. I grew up on a small family farm with livestock, cattle, sheep, and pigs, just a little variety of everything, and then crop production and corn and soybeans, and also some alfalfa on the side. And that's really where I sprouted my love for agriculture, just always being around it growing up, and then was highly involved in FFA and athletics through high school, and last year served as state officer and really sprouted, and now majoring in ag education with hopes to become an FFA advisor.
Oh, that's really cool. I love seeing all the people interested in being FFA advisors. The journey to that is really interesting.
My name is Maggie Kringen. I work at Keystone Treatment Center in Canton, South Dakota. I'm a recreation therapist, but my background in FFA, I started as a freshman. My sister, my dad, cousins, uncles, everyone was in FFA, so it was pretty natural for me to step into some of those roles. And the last position that I was for in FFA was our chapter president. So yeah, I've always been connected with the FFA crew, so I'm excited for this podcast.
My name is Abby Morris, and I'm currently a senior at Madison High School in Madison, South Dakota. I started FFA when I was a freshman, and I was really excited to be able to get involved. Both my parents were in FFA, and then my aunts were as well, so that was something that I knew I wanted to do. And then I would say my sophomore year was my first officer position. I was our historian, and then junior year as the secretary, and right now I'm currently serving as our chapter president. I'm actually the president of the same chapter that Nikki and her sister were in, and they're my second cousins, so that's kind of a cool thing that in the last 10 or so years we've had 3 girls from our family have been the president, which that's kind of exciting. And then I do have a younger brother who is a freshman, so he does FFA. So right now FFA career while his is getting started, so that's definitely kind of cool to see.
I'm Randy Kohler, and I'm currently serving as the Northwest District FFA advisor, and I'm also the Lawton Bronson FFA advisor and ag teacher there. FFA has kind of been part of my family since my grandpa did it, and then my dad did it, my older brother did it, and naturally I saw what my older brother was doing. I was interested in it, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a try. And then within the first like month, my parents knew that I was going to be super active in it, and so they decided to surprise me with an FFA jacket for Christmas. And then part of my FFA career, I served as a chapter officer for 2 years. I participated in state FFA band for 4 years, national FFA band, attended the Washington Leadership Conference, and just participated in a variety of LDEs and CDs.
Yeah, it's been a pretty common theme I've seen with all the people that have joined is their family members have, set the kind of inspiration for them to join. So it's cool to see all the family members inspiring people. All right, so the next question is, what is the female membership like in your chapter or area of work? Start with you.
I'll go ahead. For me, I feel like even in my short time in the swine industry, I've seen quite a bit of change. When I first graduated from college, there was a fair amount of representation of women in my field, but I think today that has definitely grown, especially in agriculture in general. With where I work today specifically, I am the only woman on the swine team currently, but throughout our entire company, I would say that number of women is a lot bigger. And like I said, throughout all of agriculture, that number has grown significantly, even in the last 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Amanda on the FFA side of things. As you look back in the past, like FFA has been known, it started as just for a male organization, but then in 1969, women were officially joined. It took a few years to get really more acceptance of it, but I would say today we are there. Like women are accepted fully. On the membership side, at least where I am from, for my chapter, we're probably like 50-50 between the different genders. And I would say on the state level, we're there too. So it's really awesome to see that over the years, women have been able to get more involved within FFA.
Yeah, and as a perspective, I actually am an employee at Transova Genetics in feeding baby bottle calves. And I can't speak for previous years because I wasn't familiar with what they had hired. But right now, we're definitely very female heavy, doing chores every day and just also majoring in agriculture. We're very female heavy. There's a lot more females than males in my classes when I go to agriculture classes. And I definitely see a lot of features in agriculture from my ag classes.
Yeah, I love seeing the explosion of all the female students who are beginning to join this program because, at first they would have thought that this wasn't for females, but just getting to see all of those freshmen, girls who are interested in joining, it's been really cool to see over the years that I've been in high school.
When I was in FFA, it was definitely, I would say almost like the activity was male dominated, I would feel, but the girls that were in the chapters, they were running the show. So that's my experience. I don't know if Abby wants to answer that for what it is currently.
Okay. Currently in our chapter, we have an officer team that's made up of 8 members and 5 of us are girls. And I feel like definitely a lot of the organizing and planning that takes place in our chapter is done by females. So I definitely feel like the girls involved make a big difference. And not to say the boys in our chapter aren't as involved, but I'd say the females are definitely the ones that are driven and getting things done and doing well at competitions and things like that. So I think it's our involvement that are females, they really do put in the work and the effort, and it definitely shows how our chapter is represented at other places.
At Lawton, it currently is about 50% female, but the way it's starting to look for next year, we'll actually have more female membership than male membership, which is kind of cool to see. Similar to Maggie, when I was in high school, there wasn't as many female. We started, my senior year is when we started to see closer to 40% female in our FFA chapter. But for involvement at Lawton Bronson, it's heavily dominated by females for contests. I have maybe 4 active males, 4 or 5 active males currently, and the rest are female, like 15 to 20 females are active.
So the next question is, what are some women that you have looked up to in your lives?
For me, I would have to jump across the border. So I'm a part of a group called Common Ground, and it happens to be it's based out of South Dakota, and that came because I graduated from South Dakota State. But the reason I'm telling you that is Peggy Greenway is a pork producer near Mitchell, South Dakota, and she is someone that I look up to for many different reasons. She's an honest, genuine person. She tells the story of agriculture really well. And I think people gravitate to her. I think they recognize that she's just being real and honest and transparent in her story when she talks about raising pigs and talking about where our food comes from and how we do those processes. And so she, in my opinion, has, been very much a leadership in that role. I've always wanted to emulate that. And the neat thing about Peggy is that she actually grew up in the cities in Minnesota. So she has no ag background, no farming whatsoever. And so she met and fell in love with a farmer when she was in college and ended up in a farm in South Dakota and has a very prominent role, not only helping him farm, but like I said, telling that story. And so she is someone that I look up to very, very dearly.
When you think of women in agriculture with the social media these days, there's a lot of women that are very evident on social media and do their best. So there's a few that stick out to me, like Amanda Radke from South Dakota, and then also Brainy Buzzard is someone that I know that I follow on social media. So I think that is like very prevalent for these days. But someone that I look up to kind of like the most is kind of like Amanda. It's a mentor that I have gained through being part of the Junior Red Angus Association. She is their juniors program coordinator. She actually once was in the past was an IFFA state officer. So I met her through there when I was 15 years old, and we have made a relationship, and I call her for advice all the time. She is a very thoughtful person that is always there just to listen, to understand, and give feedback and help me through any situation. So that's Kim Heller, and I'm very appreciative of all that she has done for me.
When I think of women in agriculture, right from the get-go, I just think of growing up with my mom. And when I was younger, I didn't quite know where my place was in agriculture, but I knew that I was always going to have a place. For example, I've always looked up to local farm wives because whether it was taking meals out or giving rides, I didn't know exactly where or how involved I would be in agriculture, but I knew that I would have a way to be involved. So I always just looked up to the small things that happen behind the scenes that make farming go around that you don't even think about. So I always looked up to those women that worked really hard, put up with the late nights. I mean, it's so true when they say farmers work in acres, not hours. And growing up around that, I definitely respected all the women and the wives that put up with that.
Yeah, I think you guys as leaders and as officers are really great mentors and just people that you can look up to. And so I know a lot of people and all my friends look up to guys like you, so that's really cool.
Definitely my sister, my mom, like all the close people that I surround myself with. Any woman that I have in my life has definitely had a positive impact on me, whether that's through the lens of seeing a business or work ethic or creativity, friendship, leadership. I don't really follow any celebrity necessarily. I think my heart is more locally found with the women. So with my sister being a part of the agriculture, she just has shown her crazy work ethic has paid off, and what you can do with your words can really help lead where you want to go. So she's really big into thinking towards her future. What is an action going to do to help benefit my future? And so she's really taught me how to prepare for what I want to see looking forward. So I would say a lot of the females that I focus myself around, even at work, there's a lot of female leadership at work, and it's just having that open heart and an open mind, I think, can gravitate towards the people that you want to. So locally for me, that's where I keep my ladies.
I would say the women that I look up most to in my life is definitely my mom, and I'm also very close with my grandma. I've definitely had the privilege that not a lot of people get, and that being that my grandmas both live within 15 minutes of me. So I've definitely looked up to them and learned a lot from them throughout my life. I think that work ethic is something, and then also patience too. I feel that that is something that those three women display a lot of, and it's definitely something that I am working on every day. But it's really nice to have people around me who show those qualities in everything that they do. So I'm very thankful for them.
Yeah. I would say for me, the females that I look up to would be some of the older, experienced female egg teachers, just because they paved the way. And then Barb, who was the first Iowa female egg teacher who's still in the profession, like she just does a lot of amazing things. And then specifically my two high school egg teachers that were female, they made a huge impact on me and helped me realize that I wanted to become a teacher. And then currently, I mean, I still look up to them. And then when I moved out to Sioux City area, Dee McKenna and Melissa Nelson, who work at Morningside University, are two women that I look up to because they're driven and they're patient and they're constantly working to help educate our next generation of agriculturalists and always willing to help out and wherever it's needed, whether it's for our school district, for the community. They're just always doing the best thing, even if no one's looking.
That's cool. You guys have all those people to look up to.
I can shout out some people too I forgot about.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know for Abby, Lori Christensen, is she still the egg advisor or no?
No, she's not the egg advisor,
Okay.
but I do have her as like a medical professional, like that kind of path.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So when I was in FFA in high school, we had Lori Christensen. So thinking about like specifically in FFA, Lori Christensen was my egg advisor. She really taught me how to like just run the room and just be confident no matter where you are. And then when I was in like state FFA, like the state FFA camps and stuff, at the time her name was Megan DeRushi. She was one of the FFA officers for state, and I think her name now is Megan Brown. And then Taylor Kraus, she was a big time FFA girl in South Dakota. So those are probably my more specific ones that just popped into my mind.
So next question is, why is Women in Agriculture Month so important or so crucial to our chapter in our agriculture?
I think the answer to that is definitely twofold. I think anytime we celebrate agriculture, that's a huge win. It doesn't get enough of the attention I think that it deserves, simply because there's so much working hours, as you had said, Haley, that go unnoticed that people don't know about. So that's win number one. Win number two, of course, is women. Women don't get, I don't know if credit is a word, but don't get showcased enough either as well. So when you have a month that has both of those things, and when you look at women who are in a field that has historically been dominated by males in the past, it's a pretty cool feat and something that I think should be showcased for sure.
Yeah, I think Amanda hit on all aspects right there. Agriculture and women, getting to highlight those is very, very crucial and beneficial on all ends of the industry, as our industry is evolving and allowing more females to take leadership roles and be more involved is also awesome to see, and it'll continue to evolve. I believe then women will be stronger in agriculture.
Yeah, just kind of summing up what both of you guys said, it's super important that we celebrate women and everything that they add to the field. And I think just all the unnoticed stuff. And yeah, I think pursuing a field in agriculture as a woman should definitely be celebrated. And a way to start earning respect, I guess, is just celebrating it right from the start.
Just important that we just show that, I mean, like thinking about in the 1950s to where we are now, it's really not that long ago. But I just think women have different perspectives, and we have we can be matched to any type of energy we want to put ourselves to. So just seeing more representation, I think, can encourage the youth. So that's my input on that question.
Good answer.
For me, I would say my dad is the youngest of 4 kids, and he has 3 older sisters, and they're 10 and 11 years older, the specific ones that I'm thinking about. So they were going to high school in the 70s. And I know that while they were in high school, they didn't have a lot of opportunities to be involved in FFA. At the time, our school was only boys could really do FFA, even though they ended up being egg majors. So when they went to SDSU, then they were able to be egg majors, and they both judged on the SDSU livestock judging team. So even then, I see them, and they're really not that old, and it's just important to me to have this Women in Agriculture Month, because it wasn't that long ago that girls weren't getting the opportunity to do the things that they were truly passionate about. So I think it's definitely important to recognize that women are able to be leaders in agriculture, and that is definitely an important thing to recognize. So it's definitely cool for me, and it gives me probably more of an appreciation for the opportunities that I get, because I know that they didn't get those opportunities while they were in high school.
I would say it's important for this month and just in general for this organization is they're the ones that are making history. They're paving the way for the future generations. And along the way, whether they realize it or not, they're actually inspiring the next generation and just showing them you are capable of doing this. You just have to be bold and courageous and kind of go against maybe the typical norms or the stereotypes, because that's essentially kind of what had to happen in order for women to kind of be playing the roles that they are now in the organization.
Yeah, when you think about it, it was only back in 1969 when women are allowed in. So, most of these people during that time period, they're still here and they're still sharing their stories. So, yeah, that's why I think this month is so important.
Yeah, so we kind of touched on this, but I guess the next question is, how have women kind of shaped or changed this organization?
Yeah, women provide what I would say is a different perspective, so a different lens. And anytime that you have that in any organization, you get new thoughts, new ideas, new actions. And so I think that that is key. Not to mention, women might have different leadership skills that are brought to the table. I know for me, my leadership grew the older I got, and I maybe wasn't the most outspoken when I was younger in FFA, but learned those skills as I went through. So they definitely bring some new qualities and characteristics to the table.
You're definitely right. When I think of this, on my beef farm, I work with my dad and my younger brother, and it's just interesting, the different things that we see and care about. I remember a certain time we were trying to pick up a chute in the middle of field after we got done working cattle. And what you have to do is make sure that the wheels are pushed all the way in, otherwise it won't stay up. And my little brother just started cranking on him, Ben, you got to make sure the wheels are all the way in. And he was like, I would have never thought of that. So just we're a little more meticulous and they're thinking about all aspects and all little parts. And I think as women, that's where we can really help and shine to find those little parts and make sure everything is keeping track of.
Yeah, women definitely bring a different perspective than what men sometimes always bring. So yeah, that's super important. I don't really have anything to add to that. That pretty much sums up.
Yeah, I think having an organization where you can have those two voices really helps a lot in growing at new ideas and just growing as an organization. So the next question is, does being a leader look different being a female?
That's a difficult question for me to answer. I think that men still have their own individual obstacles to becoming a leader and developing leadership skills, no different than women. But maybe you could say that the way that women lead might be different. Kind of how I mentioned earlier, they have different skills or a different way of looking at things. Maybe a little bit, and this is a good stereotype, but maybe a bit more caring or detailed or meticulous, like you had said, Mia. And so maybe the way that they lead is different. But yeah, it's good to see more women in the leadership role.
I definitely have to agree with that. And I'm going to kind of turn this more to the FFA side. I believe in the 94 years of Iowa FFA, I'm about the 12th or 13th president. So through those years, that like it has, many presidents have been male, and they do just as good of a job, fine, very detail orientated and stuff like that. But it's just interesting to see that, like, oh wow, I'm the only like 12th FFA, Iowa FFA state president. That's a female. So it's cool to get another one on the list and just hope making sure that continues to grow over the years.
Yeah, like for me, when I was growing up, I definitely had a lot of strong women leaders in my life, and especially in the agriculture industry, to look up to. So for me, it was more just the idea of earning my respect, whether I was a male or female. And I definitely think that if you got the respect, you were respected no matter what gender you were. Mm-hmm. If you showed that you were knowledgeable and you were qualified, you were a strong leader and you were thought.
I would say you are, and I don't mean to bring up any of that type of controversy, but I mean, it's just kind of what we've seen in history. There will be a different stereotype or how you handle yourself. I never have experienced that. Like, I think in today's age, where all of us were like in high school, that it was pretty, because it wasn't 1969, right? So it's been there for a while of that women were interacting in agriculture. So I never felt any pressure to be like, oh, because you're a female or you're just a girl. Like I never got that pressure, but I think that there is sometimes in different situations. But again, with the representation, I think that being a leader and being a woman in agriculture, like Randy said, it sets the bar for some of the younger generation. So I think that you can be skewed a different way, but if you just own the room as a female, I think that you can have equal respect and not have to push super hard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would say, like, I personally haven't really, fortunately, I should say, like, I haven't really had to go through anything where I felt like I wasn't being, like, my leadership and like my values and what I was bringing to the table wasn't necessarily appreciated. But I definitely can see how in other situations, especially in agriculture, I feel like women may not like be looked at as maybe like a credible source, or their ideas may not be as valued and considered as to their male counterparts. So I definitely think it's important that women hold leadership positions in agriculture, and I definitely certainly for myself, I plan to be able to do that after high school. And so I'm just very excited that I have the opportunity to hold leadership positions, and that I have had some valuable leadership experience through FFA.
Kind of like Maggie said, women have been part of ag for so long now that there really isn't a difference. Occasionally, I know like this year I've seen it a little bit, where my president is a female and she has to be extremely confident up there. Otherwise, the boys kind of just talk over because they don't necessarily see her as an authority figure. I've experienced it in college for an internship, that I was too girly to be doing agriculture work in an interview. And so that took a dig on me. And just from there on, I kind of was like, okay, women as a leader, like I have to go in there confident and demonstrate my ability. And I also try to encourage the females in my FFA chapter to do the same, and that it will get easier with time, but be prepared. You might have to work a little bit harder than a male counterpart for a position because you might not be seen as equally. But again, as the years have gone, we've seen more women in agriculture than before. So we're starting to get to that more even playing field, I guess. But yeah, women have to just be a lot more confident in their roles and not show like if they're nervous or scared, because males tend to sense that and then they don't have as much respect.
So the next question is, how do you envision the future of agriculture?
For me, I think it is so promising. I was lucky enough to get to be on the panel to interview some FFA officer applicants a couple of weeks ago, and I was blown away by the amount of talent. I was blown away by the amount of really good, qualified, and great communicators that I got a chance to interview. And for me, that's a big deal. If you can communicate the story of ag, and if you can represent what it is that's done on the farm, if you can get people to understand misconceptions out there and realize what the truth actually is about farming, that's a big win for me. And so when I saw how well these kids, and especially the women, because it was a majority of women were applicants, they did a
I noticed
great,
that this year.
the fantastic job of, like I said, of interviewing and just representing how well they're able to communicate that message and talk about agriculture. So I was pumped. I'm passionate about it, and so it's good to see that passion too.
Yeah, I would say agriculture, moving forward, if you think back 50 years to agriculture, we have definitely evolved a tremendous amount by the technology, different things that are out there. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see in the next 50 years what will all happen and how we'll continue to grow and help produce the food for our growing population out there. So I think it's interesting. I think the communication side and the perception of agriculture is something that we'll definitely have to be cautious about and make sure we're stepping up and making sure that we're seen the way that growing up in agriculture, we know we're sustainable and very productive for the environment.
Yeah, I'd say the future of agriculture, it's so promising but unknown at the same time. We can't control the prices, the costs, we can't control weather. I mean, that's not in our hands, but we can definitely control, I know within the FFA organization, we control what we're raising as the next generation of farmers. And I've seen within the organization, it's making very strong leaders and sharing hard work ethic and just creating great leaders and future agriculturalists. So I definitely think the future of agriculture is in good hands with what has graduated out of the organization.
Yeah, I was really excited today. I looked at the list of the incoming 8th graders, and I saw the list was pretty big for what I thought it'd be, and it's just really cool to see that list grow bigger and bigger every single year. So I think we have a lot of potential for what we can really do. So I'm excited to see that and know that even when I graduate or leave, that we still have a good program that's left.
See it growing. I mean, we got to feed people somehow. So I think that the egg industry, I think we're becoming a lot more aware of things in all aspects of how much energy we want to use and how to be sustainable. And I think just if we're focusing on women empowerment, I definitely do. I mean, I know that there's way more women involvement because we're valuable, in every sense. I'm seeing more vets for my sister's profession. There's way more female than there are men nowadays. And so in the veterinarian field, you just see more women, and just, I think the growth in the industry will just keep being prosperous if we allow more leadership in female roles, I should say, and seeing that future grow.
One of the cool things to me about the egg industry is definitely how progressive it is. And I feel all the time there's always new ways of doing things and new research and studies and stuff. So I definitely think there are a lot of opportunities for women to go into agriculture, and I feel like those will only grow. I know that as I've kind of been looking towards post-secondary education, I've definitely explored a lot of options within agriculture of things that I wouldn't even thought, or I wouldn't even have thought as an option. So I definitely know that it's growing, and I think it's definitely a really positive thing. And I'm super excited to be able to go into the industry, and I am definitely excited to see what the future holds.
So I kind of see the future of agriculture. Women are going to become more involved than what they are now, and that we're going to be working to make the environment, or to be more sustainable. in our practices while still feeding the world. And I can see a lot more technology advancements being made that are going to allow for everything to become more efficient. That's kind of where I see it. Just we're gonna work on becoming more sustainable and more efficient with what we're doing and producing.
So our next question is, what made you take the path of leadership?
For me, I would absolutely credit that to my FFA advisor at the time. That would be Mr. Dwayne Postma. He would pull me and other kids aside, whether it was in class or after meetings, and sit down with us and have a serious discussion of, do you want to be a leader one day and how are you going to get there? And what was a big confidence booster for me was he pointed out ways that I was leading and I didn't know that I was leading. And so, like I said, talk about boost your confidence, but make you recognize and identify what a good leader is and what, how I could emulate those characteristics and grow myself in that way. And so he definitely was the one that not only sparked that interest and that passion and that fire, but pointed out to me kind of what it was that I already had in my toolbox and what I was already doing.
Yeah, I would say FFA advisors play a huge role in this aspect of growing those leaders because they help you gain all those skills. Like you don't even know like the leadership qualities that you actually have until someone helps you point them out or you see it, like the impact that you're making yourself. I think also for me, my parents definitely have pushed me to be the best leader that I am possible and the leader that I am today. Just always pushing me to try those new activities and to like step into things not like fearing failure, but always like with the best mindset possible and trying to like making sure you're putting all your effort into the activities that you're doing. That has definitely helped me become the leader that I am today.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Mine definitely sprouted from when I was at home and just growing up with great older siblings and role models. I definitely learned a lot from them. And then as I got older, I just slowly started to realize opportunities where someone could have stepped up as a leader. And so when I finally got to be able to be in a leadership position where I felt comfortable to take the lead or where I felt comfortable to know the difference between right and wrong, it was an opportunity to make a difference for the younger generations and even my own peers as well. So it was just super fun. And then FFA advisors, they just support you and you have so many supporters around you if you surround yourself with good people. So then it's just super fun. It comes natural and you just look for ways to make a difference for people around you.
Yeah, I had a pretty similar experience to you, like with my advisor and just how he let me grow as a person and realize my full potential. And I love FFA because it kind of puts you in that in-between comfort zone of what you're a little scared of, but it forces you to grow and to become a whole new person, which I love about this organization.
Goes back to like your question on who you look up to for women in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, every single one that I look up to has been a leader in their life. And I think with FFA, if you want to like have good involvement, I think you just have to naturally want to be in a lead role, whether that's if you're an officer or not in your chapter, it's not individual. Like everyone has to work together to be a good chapter. And that takes a small amount of leadership, going to the activities or conferences or like judgment sites. I think that you have to have a little bit of leadership quality. So anyone in FFA, I kind of give them the thumbs up, but because it's a cool organization and I know what I have to do to kind of get my name out there, even if it was just for our small community. But I think that doing just small things as a leader, it becomes more natural. And I think FFA has such good support within the system that people feel more welcome to show their leadership qualities, whether that's an aggressive leader, a passive leader, lead by example. I think that FFA gives a lot of opportunities to show how you are going to lead whoever you have with you.
I would say for me, I've always been quieter, but I've always been one to be very involved. So like my freshman year when I came in, I definitely looked up to the older kids a lot, and they truly did lead by their example. And so right away from the beginning, I jumped in kind of like 2 feet in, and I was doing all of these different like contests and things like that to really get the FFA experience. And then from there, I knew that I loved it so much, and then I wanted to kind of be a leader for those around me. So then I decided to interview to become an officer, and then I eventually did. And then as I've gone up through our chapter officer team, it's just, I enjoy leading by example like the older kids did for me. And I definitely have found a way where I can still lead. But like, I'm also still very much like a quieter person, but I know now how I can lead people, and it's mostly by example. And then how to work with the other leaders around me too, to create a chapter that encourages kids to be involved in a variety of different things. So I definitely think FFA is a great organization for leadership experience, and I'm very thankful for the opportunities that it has provided to me to grow as a person and a leader.
I would agree with Abby. I think encouragement is a really key factor in letting someone's leadership qualities expand. So like thinking about my sister, like she is always wanting to teach someone. So I think her leadership qualities have brushed off on me. Like if someone doesn't know something, I hope that a leader would show them versus like kind of talk down on them. Like you have some leaders that are more like dominant like that. But I think Abby's saying encouragement is, I think, a key factor in being a positive leader. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, my parents and grandparents always said it's important to give back to those who have helped you along the way. And so with FFA, my freshman and sophomore year, I mean, I was involved, but I didn't really think or view myself as a leader. But I had younger members looking up to me. And then I went to the Washington Leadership Conference, which like changed my life. Because I learned so much more about what leadership is, and I learned more about myself and realized that leadership, I was portraying leadership without even realizing it. And so anytime, like I'm more of like the silent background kind of leader versus like somebody up front. And so I like to kind of be in the background, helping, encouraging those that maybe get overlooked from time to time. And so that's kind of where I think I took the leadership path, was because like my egg teachers poured into me, and as well as some of the upperclassmen. And then just seeing and hearing from some of the underclassmen in our chapter, like saying that they had looked up to me, and just between being encouraged, I guess, like Abby said, that really helped me kind of want to take the leadership path, and as well as be able to give back to the organization and just help other students realize their own potential and that they can be a leader. It's not just for like the athletes in the school.
Yeah, before I joined FFA, I thought, being a leader was meaning you have to be bold, aggressive, and loud. And then, as I did for district interviews, I realized I had a lot more potential in just being who I am, and just, leading by example and basically encouraging others to be who they really are. And so this organization has really helped me grow a lot.
So the last question is, what would you say to girls currently in this organization?
I think I would I would say a handful of things. First and foremost, and I think we might have all mentioned this a little bit, but find a mentor. Mentors are kind of like, they can provide the cheat sheet for life, right? If they've pioneered or blazed that path, they can kind of share with you what is good and maybe not good to do. They always have wonderful perspective, and my advisor was a mentor to me and still is to this day, which is neat that it's a lifelong relationship. Furthermore, I would say you're gonna fail, and failing is good. Don't ever be afraid to try something, with the fear and that looming cloud that you might not do well at it, because failing is a win-win situation. If you win, you win, but if you fail, you're still learning, right? And so I think those are two really big points that stand out to me that I would say to young girls today.
I would definitely have to agree with that. Along with that, I would say you will probably encounter people that may not be on your side. So they might not be supportive. So surround yourself with the people that are supportive and help and push you to be your best self. But if there are going to be people out there that might be like, oh, why are you doing that, or question you, just always make sure you stick with your gut. And if you want to do something, put your full effort for it, because you will achieve in it. If you put your effort there, you'll do great things.
Yeah, I would kind of just add on to what you just said, Mia, like just be your best self and focus on what you can focus on. Hard work. I mean, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I live for that. Like, work hard, become knowledgeable, be an expert in your area, whatever you want to do, pursue that passion and earn the respect in that passion. So whether it's agriculture or anything else that you want to do, for a second, just put aside your gender and focus on being the best that you can be and really like just grow in that area, and then you'll gain respect as you come. And as Mia said, some people may always not agree with you, may encounter difficulties on the journey, but just always be the best that you can be.
Go for both ways of like someone who's thinking about joining and then someone who's already in. I like how Abby said, you kind of just jump feet in first, head first, whatever you want to do. And I would start by doing like the small judging contests, like pick a subject that you wanted. So for me, it was horse judging because that's what I grew up with. So like just get into kind of a smaller community within FFA, or maybe go like with a couple friends. If you're a freshman, like if you can gather some people that have similar interests with you, go in as a team, because then it's a little less scary. And for me, I was, other than Randy and Abby, I was the loud person. Like I kind of like to take over a room, which is good and bad, whatever. But for me, it was easy to jump in. But I can understand how some people are a little more laid back and kind of reserved before they get comfortable. So maybe you gravitate towards someone who's a little louder, because then they can kind of show you the ropes before like everyone's being really timid and shy. You know, like I would go for where you want to see improvement of yourself. And don't be afraid. I would say don't be scared. FFA is super fun. And like if you aren't an athlete, I was not an athlete. So if I didn't have FFA in my high school, I wouldn't have done anything, because I would not have related to any of the athletes in my high school. But I sure as heck got my name out in FFA, because you don't have to be a crazy athlete to show that you have good leadership qualities. You know, you don't have to have those technical skills. You can show that you have skills in speaking, in judging, in writing, you know, things like that. So I would say don't be afraid to go in head first.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I was definitely, and I still kind of am, a quieter person. So going in my freshman year and just becoming involved right away was not an easy thing, but I did have some upperclassmen friends who I knew were in FFA and who I was close with, and they really encouraged me. So definitely, I think if you can find someone within your chapter who you're friends with and can maybe kind of help you, show you the ropes too. And then like Maggie said, to pick something that you're super passionate about. I would say when I went into high school, even though I've grown up on a farm my whole life, I had no idea that I wanted to pursue an agriculture degree after school. I definitely thought I wanted to go into something medical, which looking back now is kind of funny to me. So I had no idea, but I started out my freshman year during our spring CDEs. I did vet science, and even my freshman year, sophomore year, and probably most of my junior year, I didn't think that that'd be anything I wanted to pursue after high school. But I think if I never did that, I wouldn't have found that I really do enjoy those things. And after high school, I'll be going to pursue a degree in animal science. So I definitely think that if you can find something that even if you're just interested in, it can definitely turn into something bigger after high school. So I'm really thankful for that opportunity. And I think that I've grown so much as a leader. So I would encourage anybody to just take the chance on it and to just find someone within your chapter that you can be friends with and that you can learn from. And there's so many different ways you can be active, whether through like community service projects or just like fun team building activities. And then to the contest, there's definitely something for everyone. And I definitely think another unique thing about FFA is it brings people from all areas of the school. And so I have been active in sports throughout high school, but some of the people that I spend the most time in FFA with have never played a sport during high school. So that's definitely a cool aspect of that too, is how kids from like different backgrounds and different interests can all come together around FFA, and then they're able to do something that they enjoy together and create relationships that they wouldn't have probably even had the opportunity to without FFA. So even though it can definitely seem scary at first, I would highly recommend to anyone who's even offense to just find someone and give it a try, because you definitely will not regret it.
So from an advisor standpoint, I tell my 8th graders when they're registering, if they sign up for a night class and they want to be interested in FFA, I go, you have to go in with an open mind. If you don't go in with an open mind, you're gonna set the bar high or low. You're not gonna get the expectations that you want. And the other thing I would say is don't be afraid to try any event, whether it's activities, an SAE project, or events that are male dominated. Just because they're male dominated doesn't mean you as a female can't do it. I did the egg mechanics when I was in high school. I was one of 3 girls in that room. And when they divided us, I was the only girl in my group. So it was weird, but at the same time, it was enjoyable because I got to learn from the males, and it just kind of makes you sets you apart from some of the others as well when you get older, and shows that you're not afraid to be a minority.
Yeah, finding that one person in your life that's going to help you grow and become a better person, it's really crucial to growing up, and having that advisor helps a lot. And I feel like they're a little bit different than a teacher because they're going to be there for you when the school's over, and you're just going to grow with them. And so, yeah, just looking up to a person in your life is going to make you a lot more successful. So thank you guys for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. I loved hearing all your stories. And that'll be the end of today's episode. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Eliora. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.